Welcome to the Chico de Manuel Show. Something I haven't been able to say in quite some time is I'm fired up right now. You should too, but I've already fired up. So, I'll give you guys a second to get in stride with me. This time I'll make an exception, but you guys need to get this shit together. I'm not going to be taking 20, 30-second chunks out of my fucking podcast every episode so you fuckers can catch up. But anyway, I was actually just watching Walsh, and I got inspired to do this. Fucking what needs to go now are these, I'm not even sure how to describe it. It's okay, so you have someone talking and they ask you like a 6-paragraph question. Like when I watch shit like Michael Knowles and Charlie Kirk, Walsh at debates, and people say,
I have a question. So, with the statistics being 66% of blacks and whites this and blah, 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 and all that, and especially when the DHI and the DIH donated over $290,000 last year and blah, 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 when the senators made a vote against Congress to do something which is actually reprehensible, and then on the oil front, and such, and blah, 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 blah. So, what is your view on trans ideology?
it's like, I find it so difficult to keep up with the question that long. Like, it's just way too fucking long. And then by the time I answer the question, I gotta answer it in some enumerated fashion, or we get stuck somewhere in the mix, or at worst, there is no question. I be done just listen to all that shit for nothing. There is no question. There is no exchange of ideas. It's a lecture masquerading as inquisition. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it, man. Like, a lot of times you do need to, like, add some meat to a question. I totally understand, you know, but if you have that much to say in a question, you need to break that shit down into pieces, or ask your questions in such a way where the conversation can progress. Like, it's still a question and answer exchange is still a progression, because as each question gets answered, you either have a new question or there's no more need for inquiry. You know, questions are designed to be answered. It's a way to probe knowledge. But these people, a lot of times, especially young people, or these pink-haired, vegan activist motherfuckers, it's just completely insufferable whatsoever. You put a microphone in their hand and they proceed to waterboard you for the next 15 minutes. Just to eventually ask a question unrelated to the bulk of the question, just to the bulk of the entire statement. Why do we allow this? Like, even in football, as soon as the ball is down, there's a big ass clock that lets you know how long you have to make a decision. We're not going to wait for you to think all day. How long does it take to pick a play? 10, 15 seconds at most. Maybe 10 seconds or so to get 10 to 15 seconds to get your people off from the previous play. Another 10 to 15 seconds to hear and communicate the play to everyone. And then another 15 seconds to get to the line and snap the ball. Same with questions. Like, you all this talk in prefacing of a question that comes before it, it's like it's a not so covert form of foreshadowing. Or it's like you're imparting your stance at me in the question. You know, who did I hear that made me think of this? It was Al Sharpton talking. And he started off a question asking, like, is this a way for people like Donald Trump to shift some of the blame of doing this and doing that because such, and no, blah, 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 blah. And he, like, went off on a tangent within the question. And it's like, I had to rewind the shit because it's like I'm trying to keep up. But it's like, this is a fucking 1 minute question. A 1 minute question. Even on, like, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, when you ask the tough questions, the hard questions where you really got to think about it, asking the question itself doesn't take more than 10, 15 seconds. In 1856, Count Bynum of Scotland was cornered and essentially murdered by such and such in the what district of so-and-so. 7, 8 seconds at best. Like, you shouldn't have to interrupt a motherfucker. It's a good clip of this. It's some kid talking to Jordan Peterson. And, like, this motherfucker was going on and on and on and on and on. I swear the kid talked for about at least 90 seconds before Jordan had to interrupt him. And, like, it's all right, it's got to be a question in there somewhere. It's getting awfully hard to keep up with this shit. When somebody's asking you this question, subconsciously, some part of your mind activates on the answer to it before they're done talking. You don't verbalize this. It's like when you hearing shit, you kind of be like, oh, okay, I know, I understand that part, blah, blah, blah. And you trying to actively listen and hold that thought, hold that what you was going to say. And the longer the question, the higher the likelihood that I can't hold on to my thought. Because I got to pile all this current information on top of it. Excuse me. It's also, at least to me, an indication of an inability to properly articulate and categorize your thoughts. Like, it's almost like these questions are just traps. These questions are just there to, like, get a sound bite of you saying something that can be manipulated and shaped and twisted to fit in an ambiguous narrative. They're just traps. These questions are traps. When someone asks you a question and they're just going on and on and on. I mean, it could also be like you're anxious, you're nervous, excitement. Like, I'm cool with that too. But it seems to me that if you ask a question with all these stipulations in the introduction, at some level, you are trying to elicit a response from me. You're trying to get me to say something. Or you want to take my answer and twist it. You want to spin it. And that's not cool. I really wish I was I might actually make a heads up out of this. I haven't done heads up in a while because my life has been hectic. But I want to do a heads up so I can actually show some examples. You know, a lot of times people who do this are not. They're like Babel kings. Like, they're not as profound and complex as they think they are. Like, you learn some big words and you kind of learn how to phrase your sentences. Like, you read a couple James Patterson novels, and now you think you some kind of gifted wordsmith or some shit like that. Shit takes time, buddy. Shit takes time. I still hear about 2 or 3 words every day that I've never heard before. Just heard a word today. It's screed. Like, never heard that word before. You know? Low key, I use the word enumerated in this episode. That's another word I just recently learned. I just been dying to plug somewhere. You know? But I digress. I didn't just recently learn that word. But yeah, man, like, it seems to me you have trouble articulating your thoughts, like, concisely. Like, your thoughts and inquiries should not exhibit themselves as run-on sentences. I don't know what they're teaching in schools today, but I know I was taught about run-on sentences. Paragraph-long sentences, improperly structured, chock full of clunky and cumbersome ideas, lengthy and difficult to process due to the sheer volume of information. Unnecessary information. You gotta learn how to consolidate that shit into some bite-sized, digestible chunks. You gotta learn how to set up a series of questions if you're trying to lead somebody to say something, which generally involves a process of, like, getting them to qualify a statement, then using that qualification against them. That's why you hear detectives and prosecutors and shit ask, where were you on the night of such and such and such? Because the first thing they need to do is establish you were there. If I can establish you were at the crime scene, then great. If I can't establish that you at the crime scene, I need to at least establish that you aren't where you said you were. If you said you was at the tennis club at such and such and such time, but we interviewed staff members at the tennis club, and they said they hadn't seen you, your name wasn't on no kind of sign-in sheet, the person at the door never checked your vehicle in on that day or at that time, where were you? You know? Now, every question I ask behind that, you have lost your credibility. Because you said you was here, but we proved you ain't. Instead of just opening like, was you somewhere else doing this? But no, where were you? It's because you already know the answer. These clunky ass run-on ideas and attacks. Sometimes the shit is just pure, it's just a form of attack. It's just a troll. Motherfuckers want to go up there and shout numbers and statistics discovered out of confirmation bias and think they're experts on something at age 19. What are you an expert at? What have you done? What have you had the capability to do, research, study, investigate, explore at your age? I just did the numbers on this shit. Like, this chick was like 21, but she was talking to me like she was the one that had the insight. She's the one that had the knowledge. So I did the math on that. I'm like, how many hours are in 21 years? And it was about 160,000 hours. Got a phone call. Hang on a second. It was like 160,000 hours. Then I did my age, and it was like 280,000 hours. How can you compensate for 120,000 hours of life experience with words? I don't think so. No. You should be listening to me. So I'm gonna wrap this up, but that shit needs to go. If you can't formulate your questions good, your knowledge is probably bogus, and you probably vastly overestimate how smart you are, how clever you are, how perspicacious you are, and you probably just another babble king out here embarrassing yourself at every opportunity you get. Let's get to the show. Currently smoking. Okay, so I got this one courtesy of Fox News. It reads, J.K. Rowling says it happened again as man filming in women's restroom claims to be transgender when caught. Now, a couple things here. For one, we told you so. We told you this would happen. We told you this would happen. Like, it does not suffice it to say 1,000,000 times, we told you this would happen. And you guys swear up and down that we're crazy, that we're not even that it's like some type of anomaly of people doing this shit, but like it should never happen. It should never happen, period. And it has. It has. How many times does it have to happen now before it's a sufficient danger to women? Like, okay, well, that's only one time. Like, what's too many? Once is too fucking many. If I catch a dude filming me, or a woman that thinks she's a man, filming me in the bathroom while I'm doing anything, you're going to get seriously injured. You are going to get seriously hurt. I'm not even going to take the time to wipe my ass to beat yours. Seriously. Second of all, how is that an excuse? You get caught filming women in the bathroom and, hey, what are you doing? I'm transgender. Oh, okay, never mind, carry on. Like, what? How's that an excuse? So if you trans, you get to just film people in the bathroom? I mean, make it make sense. Like, this is your excuse. You should be able to defend it. You are like you are putting your freedom at stake here. And this is the best you've got. You're transgender. You're perverted. That's what you are. You are confused. You are disgusting. That's what the fuck that is, bro. Anywho, let's get to this wonderful article. The sentencing of a man who told police he identified as a woman when caught filming in a UK public restroom caught the attention of J.K. Rowling over the weekend. The Harry Potter series author posted about Curtis Mawson being convicted on X, formerly known as Twitter, on Saturday. writing that only evil, nasty bigots claim happens, and that never ever happens has happened again. The actions of Mawson prompted Rowling to publish a series of tweets addressing her broader concern at hand. So yeah, just to reiterate, like it's been said that it would never happen. It would, they would never do this. Like, why is a so-called woman filming other women in the bathroom? Why are you doing that? Like, how? Even if it was like I said in the inverse, or even if it's a guy filming a guy in the bathroom, like, are you trying to get killed? Are you seriously trying to get killed? Because that's probably what's going to happen to you, depending on who catches you doing that shit. You might get beat to death. Seriously, I'm not even joking. Just imagine you being in a public restroom and in some fashion you catch a motherfucker filming you while you're shitting, while you're pissing. How does that make you feel? Is it happy? Do you feel joyous? You want to celebrate? Are you just overwhelmed with bliss? Like, what the like, for real. You better stop playing. You better stop playing with that shit. And this is an L for the transgender community. Y'all have to hold this L. These are rules y'all made up. Y'all gotta hold this L. If he's a part of the transgender community and this is what y'all doing, and y'all just welcome anybody with a pulse, like, where's your responsibility in this? Don't be hypocrites now. Y'all have to hold this L for him. Continue. In the first paragraph of a 3-tweet thread, Rowling wrote, It is possible to want trans people to be safe and happy while recognizing that there are risks to women and girls in eradicating single-sex spaces. Women and girls are being pressured to surrender their hard-won rights to a group that poses a proven danger to them. The statistics don't lie. Some, not all, trans-identified males have committed sexual and violent offenses against women and girls. Some male predators have capitalized on gender identity activism to claim a trans identity they never espoused pre-conviction or assault, she continued. She concluded the thread by saying, telling women and girls they must accept increased risk to themselves to appease male feelings is the very definition of the patriarchy you claim to stand against. Vulnerable women are paying the price for a fashionable fallacy that has serious, real-world consequences. I mean, facts. And I hate that term, that facts, bro. Yeah, it's fucking facts. No, dude, facts. I hate that term, but they are facts. Everything she said is true. Everything she said is 100% accurate. Show me. I challenge you to dispute that. You know, I've said it many times. I've said that I've said it many times, and I'll say it again. This should not be a thing. This should not be a debate. We should not be having this conversation about this. Even if we're going to have the trans conversation, the sports subject is off the table. No changes need to be made and should be it should be made. Nothing needs to happen regarding this issue for the 5th goddamn time, or however many times I said it. How many celebrities gotta speak up and say this shit? How can you show your face in public and you support this shit? How do you say, like, well, I think, well, if you just take the hormones and, it fucking, like, what? You for real? Do we need to play that Caitlyn Jenner clip again? Or they say they haven't been on testosterone in 8 years and can still outdrive women? Which, if you are a woman, no need to make that distinction, by the way, but you can still outdrive them by 100 yards? Driving the ball 280 yards. Do you know how hard that is? Bro, fucking insane, man. Fucking lunatics. Seriously. Continue. The story rolling linked to reported that Mawson was, quote, spotted inside female toilets in the city of Durham and was, quote, inside a closed cubicle standing on the toilet looking into the next cubicle. When police arrived on the scene asking if there was anybody inside, Mawson reported to have answered in a high-pitched voice, "Yeah." Wow, bro. Wow. According to the Chronicle Live, the prosecutor stated that as officers on the scene continued asking why he was in a women's restroom, Mawson replied, "Just chilling," before proceeding to claim that he identified as a woman. Police officers seized his phone and a camera, finding footage of women in bathroom stalls. Oh, God, that's embarrassing. That's super embarrassing. That's just so fucking embarrassing. Like, you never can recover from this. I'm sorry. You have thrown your life away. You're going to prison. When you get out of prison, there is nothing for you. So if you identify as trans and you decide to kill yourself, like you fucked everybody over. Because if I was you, I would. Like, you're done. You are done. Take your ass out the oven, bro. Like, you're through. Please explain to me how you survived this. Talking about you just chilling in the women's restroom in the stall, and they find pictures and shit on your. Okay. When the Durham court found that Mawson's home had been previously searched, they initiated an additional investigation, which sees several devices containing indecent images of children and, quote, Category A images, the most serious, as well as Category B and C images, alongside an, quote, extreme pornographic image of a person engaging in an act with a dog. Yeah, bro, you through. You are through. Mawson was also accused of sexually assaulting a tourist who was taking a photo of the Durham Cathedral in June. Mawson confessed to failing to register as a sexual offender and has pleaded guilty to sexual assault, quote, voyeurism, 3 counts of making indecent photographs of a child, and possessing an extreme pornographic image, according to the report. He was sentenced to 25 months. That's it? That's it. Why wasn't he sentenced to like 25 years or like 25 times 10 or like 2 years, 1 month for kitty porn, having a video of him somebody fucking a dog, what? And for failing to register as a sex offender, that's only 2 years, 1 month worth of time? Really? I don't believe that. This nigga must have had the spirit of Johnny Cochran come back and defend this nigga. Like, this motherfucker must got Mike Morse or something, bro. If I was him, that's a win. That's a win. You're going to go to prison. You're going to get segregated or murdered. Hopefully the latter. But, like, bruv, 25 months is not enough time. I don't give a damn how good your lawyer, public defender, fucking Harvey Specter, I don't care. That's not good enough. I am highly dissatisfied with that outcome. Like, it's just so insufficient, man. I'm at a loss for words because I'm kind of mad now. Like, 25 months. Bruh. That's a gun charge. He should have got a life sentence. Maybe even the death penalty. Maybe. We can talk about it, but I think all sexual predators involving children should get life in prison or the death penalty. Fuck that sex offender neighborhood, like the gated community which they all boxed in and shit. Nah, box them in and then pump carbon monoxide into the box and do away with their ass. Shit's disgusting. And I'm disgusted. I'm also moving on. All right, let's keep the show rolling. We got, courtesy of State of the Union, Politico reporter apologizes for controversial remarks about Christians. So why did I pick this one? It was either in the last episode. It's been way too much time in between episodes lately. I'm starting to lose track here, but I'm pretty sure it was the last episode where I opened talking about apologies, instant apologies in particular, but just apologies in general. Like, I don't believe that saying sorry in most cases is meaningful, does anything. It is simply some kind of bargaining, some attempt at a power struggle. It's basically you showing whoever you're getting into it with that they've got that you got them. Like, yeah, I made you apologize. I made you say sorry. Very rarely isn't any true sentiment of remorse or thoughtfulness in what you said. Now, I haven't dipped too far off into this one, so, perhaps it could be the case with this individual, but I doubt it. What could you say about Christians that's so controversial that you need to apologize about it? I guess we're going to find out. Oh, Lord, how the fuck do I say this last name? Heidi Przybyla, a Politico correspondent, apologized for her remarks criticizing Christian nationalists, which went viral after an MSNBC appearance. Initially defiant, she later clarified her stance, distinguishing between Christianity and Christian nationalism. Oh, okay, all right. So it wasn't so much that she said something heinous, is that she just didn't explain it right. That's what it is. Like, has she had the time, energy, finances, resources, intelligence capacity to, get her point across without any outrage? Then I highly doubt that she would be changing her tune. But somebody got mad. You said something that made someone else mad. So regardless of the content of your statement, if it pissed somebody off, you better fucking apologize if you want to keep your life. Continue. Due to some clumsy words, I was interpreted by some people as making arguments that are quite different from what I believe, Przybyla wrote. So, like I said, we got more to go, but listen to that. Due to some clumsy words, I was interpreted by some people as making arguments that are quite different from what I believe. So, I guess her taking responsibility is saying she worded her argument clumsily. Okay, but that's like saying, I'm sorry that you took offense to what I said. I was crystal clear in what I said, but what I said must have offended you, and for that, I'm sorry. But as far as any actual thought, any actual real consideration as to why what I said may have been wrong, or anything like any real, it sounds like it's devoid of any true reflection. Some clumsy words. I was interpreted by some people. Some people misheard me. So I guess I gotta apologize because that fixes things, right? Continue. She expressed regret for imprecise language and denied bias against religion in her reporting. Quote, excerpts of what I said were promoted widely in some political circles by activists whose primary objection, I feel sure, was not my television appearance, but my coverage in Politico about the tactics and agenda of political activists who subscribe to a philosophy they call Christian nationalism. Christianity is a religion. Christian nationalism is a political movement. As I said on the air, there is a big difference between the two. I mean, I'll give you that. When I hear Christian nationalist, the nationalist does imply some political influence or something like that. You know, I'll give you that. But I guess I need to know more about what she said about Christian nationalists. That was so heinous. That was so bad. Like that, you need to deliver this apology. Hang on a second. I'm having some issues here. Almost fixed them. Guess I got to do it like this now. Hang on a second. Boop, 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 boop. Whole lot of apologizing here. All right. Okay. Quote, reporters have a responsibility to use words and convey meaning with precision, and I'm sorry I fell short of this in my appearance. So, what's the apology for? You're sorry that you fell short of using your words and conveying meaning with precision? Sweetheart, as a reporter, I think you know that there's not really a way to do that. You can only say what you say as clearly as you can and let the chips fall as they may. There's only so much clarity and insight that can be squoze out of a statement. To some degree, everybody's going to fucking misinterpret what you say. You know? Happens all the time. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes, unintentionally. Let's continue, though. To go further, she said, to state the obvious, the above is not a good definition of Christian nationalism. Many people have views about our rights as Americans that would coincide with those of many of our nation's founders. In my full remarks, I noted that many other individuals and groups on all sides of the political equation have cited natural law, including the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., who invoked the concept in his fight for civil rights. But of course, the question of which policies, rights, and values can be ascribed to natural law is in the eyes of the beholder. Okay. In my phone, okay, I have cited natural law. Okay, so what is natural law? Is that their interpretation of what people would describe as God-given rights? Laws inherent to the human experience? How would I recognize a natural law if I saw one? Like, is it like a law that no matter where you go, it's under, like murder, thou shalt not murder? Is that like a natural law, like you just shouldn't kill people for unjust reasons? Is that something that's like natural? I'm pretty sure everywhere you go, there's something against that. If you've been found to have murdered someone, your ass got a penalty in the offing waiting on you. Is that what she's saying? I don't know. Like, it's almost like the paradox of choice is in when your message is so broad that I can almost pick how I interpret it. Like, I can almost choose to understand or choose not to understand based on whatever mood is most convenient to me at any, you got to simplify. So if this is how she's defining shit, it's not implausible for me to even think that people misunderstood or people mistook it, because that's a pretty verbose, and then to just follow that up and say, we have a responsibility to use words and convey me. So you're basically saying that you didn't say what you meant. Well, what the hell do you mean? What'd you mean? Continue, quote, those who complain must recognize that in a pluralistic society, people on the other side of policy debates have religious or idealistic convictions every bit as sincere as their own. Neither side should try to assert that they have unique insight to represent God's will or that the other side is in opposition to that will. What? Why not? Why not? I really need to figure out what she said, because just hearing the bullshit apology for being imprecise and not actually saying something worth apologizing for is confusing. Which is another reason why you just shouldn't do it. If you said that shit and you offered extra clarity, but stand by what you say. Don't offer some half-hearted ass apology that's unbelievable. They say, well, I apologize that I didn't accurately convey what I meant. Well, I mean, shit. It's hard to do. It's not something you really got to apologize over unless your goal was to be uninterpretable. Like, okay, so following criticism from Christian groups, she addressed the issue of Christian nationalism in GOP politics, highlighting the belief in rights coming from God. Critics referenced the Declaration of Independence in response to her comments. The base of the Republican Party has shifted, right? Prisbilla said. Remember when Trump ran in 2016, a lot of the mainline evangelicals wanted nothing to do with the divorce. You know, a real estate mogul who had cheated on his wife with a porn star and all of that. So what happened is he was surrounded by this more extremist element. They're going to hear words like Christian nationalism, like the New Apostolic Reformation. These are groups that you should get very schooled on because they have a lot of power in Trump's circle. The thing that unites them is Christian nationalists, not Christians, by the way, because Christian nationalists is very different, is that they believe that our rights as Americans, as all human beings, don't come from any earthly authority. They don't come from Congress. They don't come from the Supreme Court. They come from God. The problem with that is that they are determining, men are determining what God is telling them. And in the past, that so-called natural law, as you know, it's a pillar of Catholicism, for instance. It has been used for good in social justice campaigns. Martin Luther King evoked it in talking about civil rights, but now you have an extremist element of conservative Christians who say that this applies specifically to issues including abortion, gay marriage, and is going much further than that. Okay, so I guess what I'm left to take away is, like, she made statements about Christian nationalists and it offended some Christians. And she's essentially saying that Christian nationalists do not unite under what Christians unite under. They don't have the same belief. The Christian nationalist movement is politicized, whereas Christianity isn't. You know, I think it sounds to me as though, like, this whole distinction between Christian nationalism and Christianity is some attempt to split hairs and create a rather unnecessary distinction. Like, Christian nationalist is, you know, I can agree that that's probably some kind of politicized version of Christianity. But, you know, what I guess I'm missing a distinction here. Like, Christian nationalist, Christian. Like, are people gonna, like, be apt to distinguish the two when talking about it? And like they say, all these rights and things, they have to come from somewhere. Like, rights are an idea. Where do they come from? Like, people walking around talking about, oh, my rights, I have rights, blah, blah, blah. Okay, from where? If they don't come from the government, if they don't come from your community, if you're born with them and they're not genetic, where do they come from? They've got to come from somewhere. You can't just have these rights, but then some people in some parts of the world don't have rights. I'm sure they have some deity to which they worship or pledge allegiance to. Can she tell where rights come from? Like, are you disputing the fact that rights come from God? And the way I had God explain to me, like, if God is not like an entity, it's the collective idea of God multiplied against millions of people, which essentially counts as God. There does not need to be a physical, tangible God when the idea of God and the things he represents exists in the hearts and minds of millions, perhaps billions of people around the world in one form or another. Like, there really isn't anyone, who can give you rights. It is indeed a man-made idea if you're not willing to concede that they come from God. So after processing all that, I'm just still trying to figure out what's the apology for. Like, apologizing for not being precise and then going to further clarify, which, if I understand what you're saying, which I'm not sure I do, doesn't warrant an apology. And if it does warrant an apology, like, where was your epiphany? What happened to you where you just had your eureka aha moment? You know what? I shouldn't have said that shit. Apologies are for losers, man. Apologies are for weak people. You should probably issue like 2 apologies a year, if that. If you walking around doing all this shit that you're going to be sorry for later, what the fuck good is your behavior? If you got to apologize even some of the time. When you make a statement, you need to have enough conviction on it to where if your mind isn't changed by some new introductory data or something, or you figured out that you were wrong on an issue, what are you sorry for? You sorry because I want to hear you say sorry, not because you're actually sorry. And on that basis alone, your apology is bullshit. Your stance is bullshit. When the fuck can you be taken seriously? That's my problem with apologies. That's my problem with this apology. And there's no actual responsibility taken for any harm that you actually caused. You're just apologizing because you got some alleged pushback. Yeah, well, fuck you and the alleged pushback. If you're not going to stay on your laurels, I don't want to hear a goddamn thing you got to say. Moving on. All right. To wrap things up, courtesy of the Daily Mail, San Francisco overwhelmingly votes in favor of law and order ballot measures and new rule that'll force welfare recipients to pass drug tests. Let me say that last part again. New rule that'll force welfare recipients to pass drug tests. Can't you? If you be real quiet, like real quiet, you can hear a leftist screaming about this shit somewhere. I promise. Like, there might be a flash flood of leftist tears about how this is racist and how this is unjust and how this attacks marginalized people and every other bullshit faux talking point these motherfuckers muster up. Let's get to the article. It's got a couple bullet points. It says voters continue swinging to the center after years of progressive politics dominating the city. 2 measures backed by the city's mayor passed on Tuesday. They will allow police to better pursue suspects and require drug testing for welfare recipients. San Francisco voters pivoted away from their progressive reputation Tuesday night as a number of ballot measures meant to rein in crime and drug use overwhelmingly won a vote of city residents. San Franciscans voted in favor of 2 measures, Measures E and F, which will respectively expand some police powers in the city and require drug screenings for adults receiving welfare. Now, what's wrong with that? Even San Francisco doesn't like that progressive shit. I think I heard on Walsh, Oregon recriminalized drug possession to some degree. You know, you can't just walk around in possession of heroin and fentanyl and all the kind of shit no more. You know, seems like at the minimum, it'd be a good idea. At the minimum, not walk around doing drugs on the street. They got photos of a woman in a wheelchair injecting drugs into her thigh out in the open. Imagine that being on the route home that you drove your kid from school. Like the route you take home, you got to pass through this homeless encampment where you got people shooting dope in their fucking thigh. Like, how did it ever get that way? Don't you gotta ask yourself, how does it ever get that way? Like, when was that ever okay? At one point, did you be like, well, okay, we'll let you guys do dope in the street. See how it goes. I mean, we gotta give it a test run, right? Who said that? Continue. Proposition E will, among other things, make it easier for police officers to pursue suspects. It will also provide the force with new cameras and drones that are meant to make their daily job of fighting crime easier and more effective. And Proposition F is designed to help adults struggling with drug addiction by telling them they will only remain eligible for cash welfare assistance from the city if they enroll in a drug treatment program. Drug testing will be required to ensure they comply. Also heard on Walsh how you were saying that punishing people for drug use is an act of compassion. Having drug laws is an act of compassion. And you see the first sentence of that, it says designed to help adults struggling with drug addiction. Like, you got to figure this shit out, buddy, because you can't do the drugs and get the assistance. I understand life's hard, all that good shit, Spot just died after 15 years. Your grandma's uncle's nephew just twisted his ankle in a soccer baseball game. Like, I get it, But you got to lay off the shit. You've got to lay off the shit. I'm sorry. There's no other way, man. You got to lay off the shit. We got motherfuckers doing this shit in broad daylight. Put the shit down if you want us to help you. Or commit yourself to that life. Commit to the sober life or commit to that drug life. You can't have it both ways. Continue. San Francisco Mayor London Breed backed each of the measures on the ballot and called it a win. The Democrat has herself pivoted back from extreme progressive positions, including defunding the police, with her re-election widely believed to be in peril in the city's November mayoral election. It is clear that people want to see changes around public safety. What's exciting about this for me is I get the kind of tools I need to continue the work we're doing, said Breed, who was up for a re-election in November. Good timing for that. The season before. Like, you done pivoted on your policies now this election year and your seat might be in danger, huh? That a bitch? Well, I mean, politicians do that shit all the time, Motherfuckers always get stiff on crime in the election year because they need you to remember. Continue. As the results rolled in Tuesday evening, Breed thanked the voters for passing the measures. Prop E wrote, gives our officers more tools to do their job. The fuck? Okay. While Prop F will be used to bring more treatment and accountability to San Francisco, this is how we get more people the help they need and change what's happening in our city. I guess that was a quote. Yeah. A spokesperson for Breed told Fox that the election results indicate residents are, quote, fed up and want more action to address crime. Over the last few years, the city's policies are swung too far to the left. Now it's time to send a message to San Francisco that San Francisco is closed to criminals and brazen theft will not be tolerated, he said. Breed is facing a tough battle to hold on to her position. Voters in San Francisco have increasingly become fed up with the city's relaxed attitude towards drugs and violent crime, as they should. As a citizen, as a business owner, as a police officer, as a EMT, why do you want to live somewhere where people are overdosing every 20 minutes? I'm sure the statistic is some shit like that. Probably more frequent than that. It's probably like every 8 minutes someone overdoses in America. Like, fuck. When is enough enough? When is enough enough? Apparently now. Hopefully it's now. Just like they said, the policies are too left now. Like that progressivism shit, like, at what point do you just keep moving forward? At what point do you just stop and just admire the view? At what point do you just stop and look around and be like, damn, it's beautiful. Nah, man, you're always trying to push the needle. You're always trying to innovate. I said this in my early episode, like this innovation need to pause for just a second. Like by the time, before we can appreciate how good things are, there's something better. Continue. Last year, more than 800 people in the city died of an accidental drug overdose. Many of them were addicts living on the streets of the city, which are plagued by an abundance of fentanyl and xylazine. Breed's campaign has, to some extent, read the tea leaves and is trying to mold a campaign around a more moderate platform that takes into consideration the quality of life of tax-paying, law-abiding citizens, law-abiding San Franciscans. Well, yeah. Why weren't you doing that anyway? Like, what the fuck was the plan before this? Is my question. Like, what plan did you have in place that wasn't working that caused you to have to put something new in place? Curious. For many years, the city has voted for hyper-progressive politicians and measures, but the tide began to change in 2022 when voters recalled far-left district attorney Chesa Bodine, who was well known for letting violent criminals back onto the streets following their arrest. They have a chart here, and it says death from drug overdoses in San Francisco. And in 2017, it was 222. 2018, 259. 2019, 441. 2020, 726. 2021, 642. 2022, 649. 2023, 692. Jesus Christ. 692 motherfuckers. That's like 11 people a day. Or some type of figure like that. It's probably more than that. I tried to do the math quick off my head and I'm high right now, so I probably fumbled that bag, but, you know, that's too many people. Like over all these years, 6, 12, 18, plus 7, 25, 29. We already got 330 people right there. No, 3,000 in the past, 7 years, 3,000. And that's just the hundreds number add up. Like I just added up the hundreds, not the tens and the ones column. So that you can probably tack on another three. It's probably like 3,300 people. It's a lot of people. Let's finish this off here. Those who oppose the proposition say they will be detrimental to privacy and civil liberties and will only hurt the marginalized communities the city prides itself on helping. But Breed, the first black woman to lead San Francisco, said at a January campaign stop that residents from poor black and immigrant neighborhoods are pleading for more police. Nonprofit leaders who work primarily with low-income people endorse Breed's drug testing measure. Trent Rohr, executive director of the San Francisco Human Services Agency, which provides cash assistance and employment services to low-income residents without dependent children, said the current situation in the city is not improving lives. Quote, to give someone who's addicted to fentanyl $700 a month, I don't think it helps improve their lives. In fact, I think it does the opposite. I would agree with that statement. Rohr said the welfare program for single adults, which serves about 9,000 people per year, already asked applicants about substance abuse with about 20% self-reporting an issue. A data check with the Department of Public Health revealed that almost 1/3 of recipients have been diagnosed with a substance use disorder. So that's 3,000 of them. The ballot measure would replace that question with a more rigorous screening test that would be verified by an addiction specialist. If substance abuse is discovered, Rohr said, the specialist and applicant would agree on treatment options that include residential care, a 12-step program, individual counseling, and replacement medication. There is no requirement the person be sober, only that they make good faith efforts to attend their program with the hope that at one point a light bulb will go off. Huh? The measure calls for the city to pay the rent of those accepted into the program for 30 days or longer to avoid eviction. About 30% of the people who fatally overdosed in 2023 were homeless, and more were living in subsidized city housing. Yeah, man, that's that good faith shit. Like, I don't know, man. It's not wise to put good faith in a drug addict. I'm not saying you should never do it. People do change. People do get their shit together, me being one of them. But it's not a wise idea. You can't blame somebody for not really wanting to trust you when you have a history of drug use. Like, you have to really hunker down on that shit. You're going to be tempted. There's going to be a lot of things rooting against you. But it only serves to benefit you to learn how to cope with that shit, learn how to deal with it, and eventually get back on your feet. These programs are not designed to take care of you. Welfare is not designed to, like, build a life on. If you get injured or disabled or something, that's another thing. But just as opposed to not working, as opposed to not creating some kind of income on your own, no, that's not what it's there for. I think we all know that. Excuse me. But some people they're addicted to handouts. Like, it's a weird handout addiction. And I don't get it. I don't vibe with it. I don't think it's a good idea. But, you know, like I said, you're giving these drug addicts hundreds of dollars, sometimes thousands of dollars a month. Where do you think it's going? Where do you think it's going? For real. Like, I understand some people might say it's none of their business or whatever they do with it is up to them, but it's like, this is what they do with it. Which in turn is going to cost and affect you one day. So, think about it, man. Is it a good thing that San Francisco's finally putting their foot down? You know, allegedly putting their foot down, making it easier for the police to, you know, be police. We'll see. That's the show. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Till next time, I'll holla.